The frontrunner in race ahead of the general elections to be held in Slovakia on September 30 is a former prime minister who could break West's united support for Ukraine. Bratislava. Slovaks went polls Saturday in a closely watched election that has potential to complicate West's response Ukraine and set country on a more illiberal, autocratic path. Arrow right leading by narrow margin in most polls is Robert Fico, 59. A populist former prime minister who was shamefully ousted from power 5 years ago and is making conspiracy theory-laden comeback bid. The victory of Fico's Smer party would be another sign of Europe's turn toward populist forces, capitalizing on rising living costs and anxiety about a Ukrainian war. It could also turn an ally into a spoiler in the West's response to Ukraine, with Fico threatening to halt arms deliveries and thwart European Union sanctions on Russia. During a toxic campaign, Fico capitalized on countries' long-standing polarization against Moscow and deep dissatisfaction with the previous government by parroting Russian propaganda and blaming Ukrainian Nazis for starting war. They're also progressive Slovakia, which is almost on par with Fico's party in the polls and chaired by former journalist Michal Semicka, 39, who would be the country's youngest prime minister if he comes to power. He has a very different vision for a pro-European, liberal Slovakia and has made last-minute gains in the polls. The latest Ipsos poll, published on Wednesday, found support for Fico's Smer party was at 20.6%, while progressive Slovakia's was at 19.8%. It will be tight, but kindness may prevail, Semicka wrote in a Facebook post this week. In fragmented political environment where no party is expected to win more than a quarter of the vote, whoever comes out ahead will have the first chance to put together coalition government. Much can be achieved depending on a number of smaller parties that are on the verge of reaching the minimum 5% vote share required to enter parliament. In these elections, Slovakia can choose a European, honorable future instead of chaos and isolation, Semicka said. Meanwhile, a message published on his page in all capital letters, Fico criticized Ukraine for its decision to take legal action response to Slovakia's ban on grain imports. The world is beginning to get tired of Zelensky and Ukraine, because they are ungrateful and ISTILL not satisfied. Fico reflected on his dissatisfaction with Slovakia's ruling coalition, which collapsed after a no-confidence vote late last year, leading to an interim government. However, Semicka's party failed to win seats in the national parliament in 2020, leaving it untainted. Fico, meanwhile, remained dogged by allegations of corruption but dismissed them as an attempt by the government to erase political opposition. "We don't want to hand country over to the mafia," said Anna Frankova, 29, who was shopping at farmers market in central Bratislava.